I was listening to Elon Musk, and he was saying that he was talking to somebody about change, and he was talking about how people could live a long time with AI and medical changes, and now Neuralink and stuff like that. People could potentially live for very long periods of time. And he said, "Is that a good thing?" He said, "Not really." He said, if you, he said, people don't die, nothing will change. He said when they die, they leave their concepts and their ideas, and the new generation comes along and kind of takes what they want, and they, may amalgamate on it and make change. He said, but if everybody's around and keeps reinforcing the old way of thinking,
Well, yeah,
I mean,
that's true. Like the example I use is when Galileo made his telescope, right? And basically, that was, as far as I know, that was the first time in history that there was a scientific instrument that proved a theory, because people had been arguing for thousands of years, literally, whether the earth went around the sun or the sun went around the earth, and they couldn't resolve the issue because they had no physical proof. Well, when
right.
he invented the telescope, then he could prove it.
Hmm.
Well, the church wouldn't even look through the telescope. He invited the church leaders to look through the telescope, and they wouldn't do it because they didn't want to look there.
Yeah.
And so, by the time that the general consensus, the general population had accepted the fact that the earth went around the sun, it was about 75 years later. Well, all the people that held the old view, they died.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the young people came along and said, well, yeah, actually it's true. We talk about sun going up and coming down, or going down, but actually the sun's not going down. It just looks that way because the earth is spinning.
Right.
But the people that thought that the sun went up and down,
Yeah.
they were all dead, right? But
Yeah.
they had all the power, like Elon Musk says. They had all the power. They controlled everything, right?
Yeah.
And so I did a video this week. I'm doing a talk in a couple of weeks, and about life track. Putting your life on a new track, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I put together this video yesterday, and for the last couple of days, and the idea of neuroplasticity, and the idea that your thoughts have a real effect on your world, right?
Yeah.
That you can create your ideas. You can come up with an idea like an architect, come up with a new idea for a building, design it, and build it. Um, so to me, that's an example of how a thought can have power. It is like a force, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is, they didn't have any scientific evidence of that until around 1995, when they used the functional MRI. And they finally realized, oh, hey, that's when they discovered mental time travel and neuroplasticity. But neuroplasticity and mental time travel had been talked about for literally thousands of years. But they didn't have any scientific evidence for it. It was called pseudoscience or mysticism or fantasy thinking or something, right? It was perfectly
Right.
true. I mean, you read Wallace Wattles' book, several of his books, or you read The Master Key, and it says right in there, you do these visualization exercises, you will change your brain.
Right.
But they had no proof for that. Well, I believed it because I was experiencing it, you know, and like, I gave you some examples of that, like my life is full of wonderful, loving relationships. I told you that story, right?
Hmm. Yep.
So that was just a fantasy. It was untrue, but I took it as an affirmation, and it became true. So like I had my own evidence that my thoughts, changing my thoughts, changed my life, right?
Right.
But if you talk about that to people and they don't have the same experience, they say, "Ah, that's BS. That's not true." Here comes Michael. Um, but now it's scientific. They have the MRI, and they have the pictures, and they can show that neurons are actually synapses are changed by focused attention. Now they can prove it. So suddenly it's like, now we have neuroplasticity. Well, they've had neuroplasticity for thousands of years. I mean, the Buddha talked about that, right? But
Right.
it wasn't science. So, hi, Michael. So it's a little bit like, I mean, you could say this as a metaphor, or you could say it as an actual fact. I think both are probably true. That the science now sort of has the same power that the church used to have. People would say something like Galileo would say, hey, I can prove that the Earth is not the center of the solar system because I've seen moons going around Jupiter. Come and have a look. And the local bishops wouldn't look in his telescope because they knew that the Earth was the center of everything because that's what they'd learned. That's what they believed, right? So it's almost like these days science is a kind of religion,
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think whenever you have people thinking something, I mean, I think of, I was thinking that came to mind was, Paul, what was it? He said, listen to all the people living in a world. I'm trying to think that, this is McCarthy that was singing that Beatles song. All of a sudden that started kind of a movement, um, kind of living in a world of peace. You start getting these peace movements and things like that. It changes the world, right? I mean, um,
well, of course,
I,
that's what art always does, in some way, right?
yeah,
Um,
you get enough people thinking, and I mean, that's what you're saying. When the church had control, for example, and you were not allowed to, think of certain things, or you'd be a heretic. And now if you argue with the science or you argue with the social media platforms or education, you can be, you know, in the same position,
well,
really.
it's funny, when they came up with all of this internet, Google and all this kind of stuff, you know, part of what people were saying was, hey, this is going to solve a lot of problems because everybody now is going to have access to all this information, right?
Yeah,
It hasn't worked out that way because people are still biased, people won't, people that watch, Fox Network and those kind of things, they don't watch MSNBC and vice versa, right? So the world hasn't really changed that much because people are still people.
yeah. Do you guys watch?
Michael,
Are you guys
you
watching
Michael,
X
you
at all?
lied today. You sent me a message and said, "Oh, I can't make it," and now here you are. So we can't trust anything you say anymore.
No, you can't. I had to do something that was a priority, and I was able to get it done quickly. So I thought, okay, well, I'll join late.
Well, it's a great pleasure to see you
Great,
here. I'm
great to
I'm
see you.
I'm glad that you came.
I just when
Yeah.
you were talking about that bias, what's the underneath? Is that the fear that we have that we maybe might be wrong, or there may be an alternative way of looking at something, and that would undermine how I think? Uh,
Well, actually, I had a theme today, right, that I was going to talk about, and it's this exact thing. And what I said is here. I wrote this down. Um, Feeling equals reality. So what I mean by that is if you feel loved, then that's your reality. Somebody says to you, oh, you're a wonderful, you have a wonderful relationship, you're experiencing love in your relationships. Well, if you feel loved, then you'll say, yeah, that's true. But if you're a person that doesn't know how to feel loved, and I say that deliberately, I use those words deliberately. You don't know how to feel loved. Well, then you won't feel loved. So you'll feel, in a sense, you'll feel unloved, which is kind of the opposite, right? But actually, I think the truth is you don't feel loved. So if somebody says to you, there's love all around you, you're going to say, no, there's not. So because you don't notice it, right? So so it's, in a sense, it's a bias, but it's more than a bias because it gets wired into your nervous system, right? So and this is what we talk about all the time on these calls here, is that you can change your thinking, change your reality, right? So if you start programming yourself like when I think of a past failure, I feel proud. Well, you can teach yourself to do that, as we've talked about, right? And it's true. So you go, oh, wait a second. Well, I still feel proud, though. I accept the fact that I screwed up there, but I still feel proud, because I gave it a solid effort. I did my best, right? So I'm proud of that. Whereas previously, when you thought of something that you screwed up, you felt bad. Now you feel okay, right? So to me, that's kind of a magical thing, but it's something that you have to do deliberately. Like I taught myself how to feel proud of my screw ups. It took me about a month and a half, I think, to do that. I listened to this recording every day. And, but for the average person, the average person has no clue about any of this stuff that we're talking about. And if you tell them about a failure of yours, and they say, well, you should feel guilty about that. You should feel embarrassed about that. Why? I can feel proud if I want to, right? I just rewire my brain. So it's more than just a bias. I think it's like it becomes wired into your nervous system and into your body. And Anthony Robbins says it better than anybody I've ever heard. He says a belief is a feeling of certainty about the meaning of something. Well, certainty to me is a feeling, right? Like, how certain are you that you're going to get an acting gig and get paid? Well, somewhere in your body, I believe, you have this kind of a scale. You can say, well, on a scale of 100, I think 70%. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm certainly certain enough that I'm going to continue trying, right? And if at some point you get the thought, this is never going to happen, I'm just fooling myself. I'm never going to get a gig. I'm never going to make any money at this. I'm going to pack it in. Well, you can decide to pack it in. And it's because you lost that feeling. You lost that certainty, right? So I think my opinion is that that's what it comes down to, is we all have these attitudes, thoughts, beliefs, however you want to label them, and they're wired into our nervous system. And a lot of them get wired in when we're kids, and they just grow like a tree grows, and afterwards you try and develop a new belief, a new feeling, and it takes a while. John Kehoe says, do it for 100 days. Now, I was at a talk a little while ago, and somebody said it takes 20 days or 21 days to change a habit. And I had to resist, the urge to say, who says? Because in my experience, what I've done, changing some of my attitudes and some of my beliefs, some of them have taken, effort for years. And then eventually they shift, whereas other ones, maybe you can do it for 20 days, and you've changed your habit. But if you've ever tried to develop a new habit, you know how difficult it can be, right? Whenever I leave the house, my wife says to me, hey, do you have your phone? Do you have your coffee? Did you turn out the lights? Did you check the stove? Make sure that, the taps are turned off. And lots of times I go, oh, as a matter of fact, I forgot to turn off the light in the bathroom,
Well, I think some of that's neuroplasticity, right? I mean, I think I've been looking a little bit at 12 step on certain things in my life, and you're there because it takes a long time before you can start to see the aha, where it becomes your new reality. And so you're getting repetition, you're hearing different people say it different ways, and you're remapping. It's kind of like remapping, changing the light switch. It's almost has to happen at a biological level where you got to do it enough times that the brain starts to grow in that synapses. So now it's okay. That's right. I walk out. I flip the light switch. You move houses or something. Now you walk in, you keep reaching for the light switch. It's like, oh, light switch isn't there anymore. And I think it's a lot like that. It's interesting. I've been
It's
noticing
exactly
you.
like that. If I can
Yeah,
butt in for a second here,
sure.
just to repeat something that you said, because I think it's absolutely profound and it's absolutely true. And what you said was, it takes a while before you see it. And to me, that's absolutely right. I mean, I mentioned a minute ago about feelings, right? But it's also what you see and what you hear in a sense too. I mean, all your senses, right? All your five senses. Like when I talked about, developing loving relationships in my life, right? Well, now I experience that as a reality. But when I first started using that affirmation, it was false. I wrote, you know, my life is full of wonderful, loving relationships. And for about 30 days, at least 30 days, it was like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? This is ridiculous, right? This is a lie. But then suddenly, it kind of shifted and all of a sudden, and the first one was I told you the story before about the bus driver, right? I got off the bus and I realized, hey, that was a wonderful, loving relationship. The guy was polite, friendly, happy. He pulled over, picked me up. I told him where I wanted to get off. He stopped, let me off the bus. That was a wonderful relationship, even though it only lasted for like 8 minutes. And it was like, oh, wow, I never thought of that before. I never thought about, relationships. Some relationships only last for 8 minutes. I never thought about that. So part of it was like an image. And like right now, I'm thinking of the bus driver and the bus. So when you say it takes a while before you see it, it's absolutely true.
I was, I mean, it is true. I mean, you get someone who's in abject loneliness, and then all of a sudden you start to change your perception on what love is, and say, okay, there's, copy, there's all these different types of love, but now you have the love of your fellow man. Say we all live in, Victoria, or we all live in, we're all planet Earth, or we're, from the northern hemisphere, whatever it is, you find this affiliation, and you like the bus driver and the person at the postal office and all this. It's interesting. I was listening to some older music recently, just to kind of segue from this a little bit, but I noticed a lot of the old songs are just beautiful, that relate to this. Like I was looking at Styx. There's the song "Fooling Yourself," that came to mind when you said we're just kind of fooling. I think you brought up that something there, but is it the lines start out? You're a troubled young man, I can tell, and it's an angry young man, and he changes from being an angry young man to be someone that is enlightened and happy. But it's a great song. There's so many Styx songs, Foreigner, that are just awesome lyrics. When you listen to some of it, I mean, it's just I don't know what happened with that era, but they were very time travel-ish, very in the mind. Some of them are about, I'm trying to think of some of the ones like Sergeant Tom and, all these stuff. I mean, with space,
Right.
now what is
Oh
it? Elon
yeah.
Musk, what's he called? The Rocket Man. Rocket Man. I mean, some of these songs are just so good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. I mean, that are so relevant to today and even in
Well,
your
here's a
mind.
song.
And
Here's
how
a
does
song
that
for
make
you.
you feel, Great? Because right now you're smiling, so you're feeling some sense of connection.
Yeah, when I hear it, I'm like,
And
this
that
is like
you may
profound
not be
knowledge.
aware of, but I'm seeing it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's so subtle. Watching a movie, and you start. It's a beautiful movie, and you start crying for happy, whatever. So it's those moments of connecting.
Well, and I
Exactly.
think that's what Anthony's talking about. It's a feeling, right?
Yeah,
Feeling equals
yeah,
reality. But that's why you
yeah.
can watch a movie that's a happy movie, and you start watching Happy Gilmore or something like that. You're laughing. You're laughing right along with them. I mean, they say people that get cancer or something, they start watching happy movies and comedies, and before you know it, your body starts to get rid of this disease, right? It gets rid of the disease, and you're now at ease because your natural immunities start to take effect. Your body starts to work without being impinged by all this fear, and all of a sudden you can change. You can have a miracle happen to your body. Um, and even, in all these different areas, 12 step, all of a sudden what was difficult is now easy.
Yeah.
You're like, hey.
Here's a song for you.
Mhm.
Jesus loves me, this I know. You know that song, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now, if you think about that, Jesus loves me. Now, what that means is that you have the ability to feel loved. Well, if you don't have the ability to feel loved, as I mentioned a minute ago, if you don't feel loved, if you feel that nobody loves you, right?
Right.
Then your life is pretty bleak because you feel like you're worthless, you're no good. You can spin off from there, right? So, but if you go to a certain church, let's say, and you join a community of these people and you start singing these songs and stuff, well, what may happen is over a period of time, neuroplasticity is going to kick in and you start to feel loved. Well, once you feel loved, and it could be that you feel loved by this person who used to live 2,000 years ago, who's not even around anymore. He's just a concept. But if it triggers in you the feeling of feeling loved, then like your life has changed. So that's neuroplasticity, right? And so the difference between feeling that your life is, oh, here's Arturo. The feeling that your life is worthless, no point to living, or that you're loved and there's love around and your life is worth living, that's a huge, profound shift. And yet, to me, it's simple. It's just that you've taught your nerves a new trick, in a sense. To me, it's like playing the piano. You learn how to play a certain song on the piano. What you've done is you've learned how to feel loved, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Arturo, how you been? Turn on your mic.
When you're talking about that, Anthony, there's a time when, what was love? I couldn't define what love. You said, are you in love? Do you love your partner? And I'm going, I don't know what love is. I don't know what that feeling is so that I could say, yes, that's what love is. And it took a while for me to really starting to appreciate and understanding my feeling of what love is. It was hard. It was so hard to define it. And since I couldn't define it, I didn't know if I really was feeling love because I didn't know what feeling love felt like, the truth of it. And I think maybe a lot of times that might come into it, somebody who was growing up never had the love, never had the hugs, never had all that stuff. Yet they do have the capacity to feel it, but they don't know what it feels like.
Oh, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's the essence of everything, as far as I can tell. That's it. And the example I use, and you've probably heard me use this before. I'm not sure if you've heard it, Michael. I'm sure Greg has, and maybe Arturo too. Arturo used to be a member of the community. Well, I guess he still is, but he didn't show up on these calls for at least a year or two, I think. But the essence of it is the feeling, right? Or in a sense, it could be a picture. If you can picture it.
Yeah.
And so the example I use is, think of a lawsman. Now, if you don't understand what the word lawsman is, do you know what a lawsman is, Michael?
Nope.
So you can't picture it, right?
No.
But Greg knows
what it
is.
Yeah.
Greg knows, and I know what it is, right? And so if I say, okay, think of a lawsman, I want you to picture a lawsman, right? I want you to get a bright, widescreen, colorful picture of a lawsman. You go, what? You can't do it. You think, oh, is it a kind of vegetable? Is it a plant? Is it a person? Is it a kind of an Asian, Indian priest or something called a lawsman? What is it? Right? Well, if you don't understand the word, you can't picture it. And so with love, if you can't feel it, then you're not loved. I mean, you're literally in a world where there's no love, right? So do you want to know what a lawsman is?
Yeah, I was going to say, you better tell him or I'm going to go nuts.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
He can't hear you. He
Well,
can't hear what you're saying
if you
until you
look
tell
it
him.
up, if you look it up here, I'll look it up here. This is where I learned it. I learned it when I was in Indonesia, right? And I thought it was a cool word. So let me just look it up, because I looked it up the other day. I was thinking of using this this example. There's some guy named Lawsman here. He's a football player, so he comes up. But let me see if I can. Okay. Anyway, a lawsman is an Indonesian word, right? So in Indonesia, here's what it says. An Indonesian word translates to in English, INN, right? So it says, in the past, an inn was a house that provided food and lodging for travelers. So, for example, you go to, and it's got all these different lawsmans here. If you look, you know, it's got information on all these various lawsmans in Indonesia. You know, here's one in Bali, right? Here's one in Botohir Tano. So basically what it is like, it's an inn. It's a place to stay, right? It's like a bed and breakfast. So when I was in Indonesia traveling around there, I came across, and I experienced them in several different countries, you know. It's like, there's oftentimes what you find is there's a collection of huts on a beach. They're often on a beach or like a resort. You know, you rent a little cabin, so you have your own little cabin, and then they have a central place where they serve food and maybe booze. Like if you go to Mexico, I'm sure they have the same thing down there. You know, they have like a cafe where you can go and you can have a drink, or you can listen to music, you can maybe dance, you can get food, and then you go off into your own little bungalow where you sleep, right? So that's a lawsman. That's what a lawsman is, right? Well, now that you know what it is, now if I say lawsman, you go, oh, yeah, I know what that is. I might have stayed in a lawsman in Mexico, right? It was called something else, but you know, I know what it is. So to me, that's kind of the essence of everything that we're talking about, which is, if you can't understand it, if you can't picture it, if you can't create it internally, then you're lost. You know, like if I explained to you a minute ago that a lawsman was a kind of Mexican cactus, you go, oh, okay, sure. I'd show you a picture and say, here's a lawsman. You go, oh, okay, right. And then the next time you heard the word, if you ever heard the word again, you think of the cactus, right? But that's wrong. That's not what it is. I tricked you, you know. So some of the words that I noticed that people couldn't understand, they had no way of understanding what it is, are words like thought, mind, memory, goal. You know, what are those? Oh, they're just thoughts. They're just concepts. They're just ideas. There's another word, idea. What's an idea? You know, you hear people say, you know, change your thinking, change your life. Well, what's a thought? How do you change your thinking? Well, here's how you change your thinking. You hear the word lawsman, and if a picture of a cactus pops up in your head, you go, no, that's the wrong word. That's the wrong image. It's actually a hut on a beach. That's what it is. So you change your thinking, change it from picturing a picture of a cactus to picturing yourself in you know, having a cool drink on a beach in Indonesia, right? That's changing your thinking. So to me, that's the essence of everything that we're doing here. and that most of this, self personal empowerment, self-empowerment, positive thinking, mind power, all of this stuff, it all comes down to that you have to be able to conceive. Well, this is what Napoleon Hill said, right? If you can conceive it and you can believe it, then you can achieve it. But what happens if you can't conceive it? Like if somebody says, well, Jesus loves you, and you go, what? That's BS. That's just a way to get con money out of people on Sunday, is to have them, tell them those kind of fairy tales, right? Because that person doesn't feel loved. Well, of course, if a person does join the church and it actually, after a while, or they join AA, or they join some 12-step program, or they join my program and they learn how to set goals and feel, empowered, they go, yeah, it works, right? My life has changed now. I feel loved. I feel appreciated. Well, if you don't feel appreciated, if you can't feel appreciated, then you need to teach yourself how to feel appreciated. That's what you need to do. So you have to have an image, a sound, a feeling. You got to kind of build the image. So if you say to me, do you feel appreciated? One thing that comes to my mind is, if I give one of my dogs a treat, he appreciates me. So I go, yes, I know the experience of being appreciated. I can recreate that in my mind. If you can do that, then the whole thing makes sense. Oh yeah, I feel appreciated sometimes. Some people appreciate me, some people don't. But I know what it feels like to feel appreciated. So what I've done over the years, and just to kind of wrap this up, so all the work that I've done pretty well since around 1978, more or less, when I realized this. I realized I don't know how to feel a whole bunch of things. I felt angry, frustrated, confused, ripped off, cheated. I had those feelings, but I didn't know how to feel loved, appreciated. I didn't know how to feel like I was on the right track, which is what I'm talking about now with life track. Put your life on a new track. So basically, my whole work ever since I realized this in the late 70s has been about, personally, from my standpoint, learning how to feel different feelings and teaching other people how to do the same thing. I mean, the purpose of the past successes list comes down to learning how to feel good, how to feel successful, how to feel happy, how to feel proud, and anchor that with a memory of some positive experience, which you can write down on a sheet of paper and read it over. Sorry, Michael, you were going to say something there and I cut you off.
Just that whole perspective of seeing, like when you were saying, what's a thought? What I saw was just the picture of a person with the cloud and a thought in there. What's an idea? And I see the same thing with a light bulb. And then I say, when you say appreciation, how do I feel appreciation? I don't know. But then I had an image of the dog, giving the dog the food, and how the dog felt, that I felt that. I said, oh,
Right.
okay, so there's the association with this is what I'm seeing, appreciation. This is what I'm feeling, appreciation. So it was interesting.
Yeah. So basically that's the path I've been on since 1978,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
When I realized I don't know how to feel loved. That's where I started, right?
yeah.
And and also that the feelings that I did feel, and I felt them repeatedly over and over and over again. I mean, this was my reality, that I felt abused, cheated, ripped off, lied to, all these kind of feelings. That's what I felt. And so I thought, I got to change my life. And so one of the things that I wanted was, I wanted to feel loved. So I had that affirmation, my life is full of loving relationships, And I taught myself how to feel that, as I mentioned, started with the bus driver. And I'll tell you something funny. Right at that time when I was doing this, teaching myself to feel loved. Here's a waitress. I go to a restaurant, I order a hamburger. She brings me a hamburger. Man, that's love, If she didn't love me, she'd say, screw you. I'm not going to serve you, So one day I was walking down the street. I was going to a friend's place. We were going to play chess or something. And I'm walking down the street. This is true. I'm telling you a true story here. So I'm walking down the sidewalk to this guy's place, this friend of mine. This is in Vancouver. And I look across, and there's a garden, and there's a rose bush in the garden. And it's got these roses blooming, right? And I looked at this bush and I thought, what this rose bush is doing is it's saying, I love you. I love you. I'm just giving everything I've got here to make you feel good. And, I love you. That's why I'm blooming here. I'm just loving you. And I went, whoa, maybe I've gone too far with this feeling loved if it's triggered by a rose bush. But in actual fact, that's how it works, right? I remember Kathy, she said at one point, I'm not sure if you know Kathy, but she was a member of our online calls here for a while, maybe a year ago or 18 months ago. And so she said she wanted to change her life. So she started keeping a gratitude journal, right? And every day she wrote down 3 things that she was grateful for. And she said it took a while, it took a month or so, but she did it every day religiously, right? Religiously, there's an interesting word. And so one day she was walking along the beach, and she saw this bird fly over, and she said, I'm grateful for that bird. And she suddenly realized, hey, I've been watching birds my entire life, and none of them before ever triggered the feeling of gratitude in me. But now that I've been doing this gratitude journal for the last 6 weeks, I'm feeling grateful for that bird. So that's neuroplasticity. We would love to have you join us in this online community for $1 a day. You get your own PDF copy of the book upon which this entire training series is based, along with 2 powerful meditation visualization recordings. You also get a free copy of this Design Your Life workbook and a 4-hour video course that tells you how to use it to change your life step by step. You get lifetime access to all of this on day 1, and you can cancel your registration at any time. Just go to mindtimeandpower.com and click the link to join the online community.